In this video, I'm going to show you how to raise pre-seed funding for your idea using one word. It's on the screen right now. I'm spoiling it right now. The word is if, and it's in 5 steps. And this is the approach that I've used to get funding, pre-seed funding for 2 startups based on my idea. And I approached 2 angel investors and I got pre-seed funding. Other founders who've used this successfully, and you can try it out yourself, but there's a little bit of setup that you have to go through before you start using this technique. There are 5 steps, so stick around to the end of this video. Before we continue, my name is Ed Kang, 7-time funded founder with 2 exits. I'm also the Chief Strategy Officer for Startups.com. I advise over 600 startups, and there are 4,000 startup alumni, founders who are alumni in our Startups.com program. If you're part of Startups.com, thank you so much for checking us out. If not, go to Startups.com. A lot of free resources right there. While you're here, do the YouTube thing, like, comment, subscribe. Always appreciate your feedback. And I want to use videos like this to try and help you understand the best way to go and raise pre-seed funding. In this particular case, you're raising pre-seed funding for your idea. You don't have an MVP built yet. Maybe the idea is just in your head. Maybe you got a few schematics sitting around. Maybe you've done a little bit of code, but this is strictly on the idea. If you got an MVP, you got traction, that's a whole other ballgame. Got other videos to help you. But in this case, it's raising money for your idea to begin exploring your idea and getting your idea off the ground. Let's jump in on how to use the word if in 5 steps. So first, it's important you do not pitch your idea, you pitch yourself as a founder. This is the first mistake that so many founders make. They go in and they pitch their idea, they pitch what they're trying to build, they don't pitch themselves as a founder. And you're going to see why you need to set yourself up to pitch yourself as the founder and say, I can do this, I can come up with great ideas, and I can make you, the investor, a lot of money. Because understand, in the beginning stages, startup investors invest in founders and the team. They don't invest in the idea because we all fundamentally know as investors that you're probably going to get your first idea wrong. Y Combinator is infamous for this. They invest in the founder, and then the founder gets into the Y Combinator batch, and they pivot like right in the middle of the batch into a completely different idea because they can, because Y Combinator has made sure that the founder can pivot. They're investing in that founder, and early stage investors are going to do the same thing because you just don't have enough track record to show that they can invest on other parameters. Step 1, you're going to become someone that investors want to talk to. You're going to build credibility. So remember, you're pitching yourself as a founder. If you're the type of founder that investors don't want to talk to, and typically nobody else is going to want to talk to you either, maybe your friends, great, but investors want to talk to particular types of founders because they're always looking for signals of those types of founders. Who knows who's going to come up with the next whatever it is that's going to go unicorn and disrupt everything? We don't know. And a lot of times we look for confirmation bias. We look for signals to say, hey, what are the types of founders? Like, are you wearing a hoodie and are you sipping coffee in Silicon Valley while you're hacking away at your computer? There are other signals that you can send, but you want to then get to the point where investors actually enjoy talking to you because you're credible. They see something in you and say, I need to talk to this person. They've got something going on. Start there, become that person. How do we do this? First is develop your character. Investors want to know that you've got the proper character that they can trust with your money. If you don't know what your character is or where you stand as far as your character, go get help. Ask someone. Ask your parents. Ask people who love you and care about you. Ask people who depend on you. If you've got character and you're a responsible, mature person, you're on your way to becoming that person that investors want to talk to. It takes work. You can train the skills all you want. I can train you to become a great founder and code and build MVPs and go raise money and do pitch decks. I can't train your character. You have to do that yourself. You have to get mentorship. You have to get around people who are going to basically deposit character in you because character is caught, not taught. So get around people. You know what they say? You become the average of the 5 people you hang around with most. That's character in development. Work on the character. After that, you have to develop some competence. You have to know you're good at something and develop that and learn and grow. I'm going to be putting out a video in terms of the growth mindset. That's what you need to develop the competence. Get good at something and make sure the investor knows that you're good at something. And that's very self-evident. It's meritocracy at its best. Get good, become competent. After that, you're going to demonstrate that you have a calling, that you want to solve a particular problem or you want to solve problems, and you're the type who has a calling to be a founder, not a wantrepreneur, not an entrepreneur, but a startup founder, which is completely different. You have a calling to develop hyper growth startups that are innovative, disruptive, that use technology, that are all the buzzy things that investors want to see, that you are called to do it. Some people have a calling to be an executive in a company, a very well-funded company. They are not called to be entrepreneurs. They don't like that lifestyle, and that's okay. You have to show that you have the particular calling, that particular set of skills like Liam Neeson has, that particular mindset, that rocket fuel going through your veins where you cannot not be a founder. That's what investors want to see. And it doesn't matter if you are already an exited founder, maybe you worked at Google, you're mature, maybe you're coming right out of school, you can still develop these things, character, competence, and calling. How? Go and do some cool shit. All right? Excuse my French, but do the cool shit. Because if you put yourself out there and you take risks and you go climb Mount Everest, or you figure out how to hack your way through a degree program and create something amazing while you're in school, while you're doing studies, that's the type of competence, character, calling that investors want to see. Do some cool shit. Sail around the world for 365 days. Write a book. Win a Nobel Prize. Go to the Olympics. Doesn't matter. Go do some cool shit and learn how to do it. And it might be related to your startup. Maybe you do some cool shit in your industry. I keep saying shit. Get used to it. Do the cool shit, because investors will see that in you as well. And that is the on-ramp. That is the environment in which you become that amazing founder with character, competence, and calling. Number 2, learn to network. Networking is a skill. Yes, some people are more extroverted. And yes, some people have a little more social skills, or they have been developed, socially speaking, because of their upbringing, to lend itself better networking, but it can all be learned. I'm a double introvert. I cannot stand networking. I don't like talking to strangers. I just want to put my head down. When I go get my hair cut, or I go somewhere for an appointment and someone starts yammering away, how's your day and what do you do? I don't answer. I just say one-word answers, and then I shut down, close my eyes, and I give them the signal that I do not want to talk to you. That doesn't work for networking. But when I need to turn it on, when I need to network with the right people, I've got a massive network. And your network is your net worth, and eventually the valuation of your startup, because you're going to do founder-led sales, and you're going to have to use your network not only to fundraise, but to be the first person to sell your startup, sell the product or service, and get that initial traction. So learn. It is a skill. And do not tell me, oh, I live in a small town, or I don't know anybody, I don't have any friends. That is a bullshit excuse, because you are connected on the internet, you have access to LinkedIn, you have access to social media, and you can do a lot of cool shit online and tell people about it to develop yourself and put yourself out there. Everybody can do it. I know people who've networked their ways into the world right from the bedroom, right on their computer. You can do it now more than ever. Don't use that as an excuse. If you want to know what this all boils down to, really, it's make friends and influence people. I know a founder who's extremely well off, does over $20 million a year, gets invitations from private equity for investment, or can we buy your company all the time. He travels around the world just enjoying his life. He's completely bootstrapped. And he gave me this advice. And he said, Ed, if you want to teach founders how to raise money, teach them how to make friends with rich people. That's it. And rich people with money to invest want to know that you are influential, and they want friends. They don't want to be treated like a vending machine. They don't want to be treated like someone you just come in, give me money, handout. They actually want to have relationships with people, because imagine if you've got that much money and you can invest, what your relationships are like. Everyone always coming to you, hit you up for money. So learn to make friends and influence rich people who can invest. There's a book out there, and it's famous. Go look it up. I might be a little outdated, but hey, the principle still applies, okay? Dale Carnegie wrote that book for a reason. Make friends and influence people. Learn to network. Your network is your net worth. Step 3, this is where the word if comes in. You say, if I could bring you an idea to invest in, what would you need to see? If I brought you an idea, what would you need to see? We're combining if and what, but using the term if. And remember, you're not pitching your idea. You're not saying, hey, I want to pitch you my idea. If I brought you my idea, if I brought this startup that I'm working on, don't ask that question. You're asking if. You're creating a hypothetical situation, and you're letting the investor use their imagination, and you're kind of tickling their subconscious, and you're getting in there and you're saying, hey, what would you be interested in? So you ask them, if I brought you an idea, what would you need to see? And that's how you're going to find out what their investment thesis is. This is the pre-qualifying, and that's what investors need to experience, and they enjoy the pre-qualification because nobody wastes time. And that's where founders fall down. They waste their time approaching investors that are not the right fit, that aren't going to have founder-investor fit with you, and you're wasting your time, you're wasting their time, and you're losing an opportunity to build a relationship for potential referrals and to practice, because they're going to shut you down. So ask this question. If I could bring you an idea, something that you want to invest in, what would you need to see? Then you move to the next step. Step 4, you clarify the investment thesis. So right in that conversation, you say, all right, so what I'm hearing from you is that you need to see ventures in these categories. Maybe it's industry. You're looking to invest in startups in the CPG industry, in fintech, in crypto. And then you immediately know if you're barking up the right tree or not. Because let's say you are a blockchain development person, or you've got a cool idea for blockchain, and someone's saying, no, I only invest in healthcare. I only invest in real estate. Well, then you don't have to waste anybody's time. So that's the reason you're clarifying the investment thesis. What about the problem? You get the industry and you say healthcare, and you say, well, what exactly is the problem that you're looking to solve? They may say every problem, or they might tell you, listen, I have personal experience with this type of problem. Maybe they're looking at healthcare, and maybe they had a family member get very, very sick, and healthcare really let them down. And they say to themselves, if a startup founder could actually solve this problem, I'd be so interested in a heartbeat. Now you have them emotionally, and that's how investors make decisions. Emotionally. Just pitching your idea is one thing, but pitching an idea that appeals to their emotion, hits that emotional trigger, that's important. So ask them what problem they want to solve and start to brainstorm with them. After that, you can talk about how much traction do you need to see? Are you the type of investor that needs to see revenue, or are you interested in pre-seed, total pre-revenue, even pre-product ideas? How much traction? Do you need to see customers right away? Do you need to see it making money? Or are you looking for these moonshot ideas where it's such a crazy idea that you need to put in money to make sure that it can even get off the ground to make it possible? Investors come in all different shapes and sizes with all different investment theses in all different shapes and sizes. Remember, the seed investor is going to want to see signs of product market fit. So they're not a pre-seed investor. A Series A investor needs to see product market fit scaling towards an exit. And then there are pre-seed investors. There are angels. There are angels that invest just out of a hobby. There might be a founder that exited for lots of money and they say, I want to give back. And there are angels that are literally write checks just because you fit into the right demographic. Maybe you're an underrepresented founder and they want to make sure minority founders get a chance. So they'll just write you a check. There are lots of people who invest for different reasons, so you want to find out. So ask them, how much traction do you need to see? And make sure you make note of it and accept their answer. Finally, this is something that founders overlook. They don't ask, what type of involvement do you want to see? Are you the type of angel investor, pre-seed investor that wants to get intimately involved? Do you want to be on the board? Do you want to make sales calls? Or do you want to just plunk in your money and have it work for you and then step away? Some people do that and they join angel syndicates. They just write checks and they don't want to think about it. Other angels say, I want to be intimately involved. I want to be part of product development with you. I want to be on your first sales calls. I want to introduce you to my people. I'll pick up the call every time. If you see some of the interviews that I have with investors on my channel, I ask them and they say, I want to be able to pick up the call. I want to be able to say, hey, you be my first call and I'll be your first call and let's collaborate together, because angel investing for them at pre-seed is all about getting and having the feels, getting involved right on the ground level. Give that to them. So if they're interested and they say, I want to be very involved, well, when you pitch them later on, ask them for their involvement. Say, I think you would be amazing in terms of being involved, and this is the reason I picked you. But they say, no, you know what? I don't want to do anything. Don't expect them to help you. Don't expect them to put in smart money, because a lot of founders get disillusioned with investors and say, this investor's not helping me. Well, did you get that clarified right in the beginning? So make sure you have this conversation. Then step 5, you are going to stay in contact and get to work. Now you know the North Star, or sort of the direction that you need to be hitting for that investor to be interested. Go get to work. Take inventory of everything you need to do, create a plan, and put your head down and get to work, because the investor is going to want to know. For example, if an investor says, oh yeah, I want to invest in this and I want to see that, and I want to see this amount of traction, and you go out and do it and come back a week later and say, hey, I just want to update you, that's going to be very impressive. Let me talk about the 2 times that I used this to raise funding. The first one was my very first angel investor, and this investor said, I need to see a business plan. So here's what I did. I went and created a business plan and I showed it to him the next meeting. That's what I did. I went to work. The other angel was the same and said, send me your ideas. I want a business plan. But we were at a conference, so I had to wait like a week. But I went and I worked on it, and it took me a little bit longer. But both investors saw how much work I was willing to put in right away and get on it. If they say, you know what, I need to see someone who can basically research this or go get a first customer, get to work, go get the first customer and say, hey, I didn't even build this product yet, but I already went and got a customer. And they said, yes, if someone helps me build it. And now I need that investment money. You said, if I do this, we're willing to have that conversation. Go get to work. Don't make any excuses. Don't say I need the money first. Go get to work based on what the investor told you and impress that investor with how action oriented you are. The best founders have a proclivity for action orientation that far surpasses the average Joe, the regular corporate worker sitting at a desk in the 9 to 5. Of course, they need other motivation. Passion has to be involved. But if you're just doing it to raise money, you're not going to be that motivated. But if you're excited to say, hey, now I know where to focus, and now I know how I can go solve this problem, and you've got that character, chemistry, competence, calling, everything is going on between you and the investor, it's going to go so much easier for you. And here's my last warning for you. Do not pitch outside of their investment thesis unless you ask first. What do I mean by this? If you go work on an idea and it fits their investment thesis, well then slam dunk. But let's say you find out that it's just not going to work and you can't tick those boxes, don't waste your time, don't waste their time. Unless you ask. Nothing stops you from saying, hey, I know you wanted to see ventures in this, but I've been working on that. And guess what? I've got some unique insights and I'd love for your feedback, even if that's not in the vein or the lane or whatever investment thesis they told you. I'd love your feedback because it was so helpful. Get their permission first. Don't just say, hey, I got an idea to pitch to you and show up with something completely outside of their investment thesis. And then they're not going to appreciate that whatsoever. But if you ask permission, there's a chance they're going to introduce you to other investors who might be interested. And if you show them the work and you have those qualities that make you that founder they want to talk to, they're going to want to stay in relationship with you. And you never know what happens in the future. But do not mislead the investor. Do not do a bait and switch, or you are going to develop the reputation that you do not want to have, and it's not going to go well for you. Hope that's helpful. Those are the 5 steps that I've used in the past to make sure that I can raise funding for an idea. If you're that early stage founder and you don't have that background, the pedigree, that experience in startups, or you don't have an MVP, this one is for you. Watch some of these other videos on the screen. They're going to be helpful. I've got a lot of them coming. I appreciate you hanging out. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. As always, let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video.